Dear students, last time we discussed the midline neck masses and today we will discuss the congenital lateral neck masses. Most common include branchial cleft anomalies, laryngocele and very rare sternocleidomastoid pseudotumor of infancy. Starting with the branchial cyst, first of all you should know the difference between a cyst, a fistula and a sinus. A cyst is a collection of fluid surrounded by a mucous membrane and there is no opening inside or outside. If there is an external opening and there is no internal opening, we call it a sinus. And if there is opening on the external skin and there is opening inside, then we call it fistula. So a sinus is a blind tract and a fistula is a tract with two openings, and a cyst has no opening at all. So branchial cleft cysts are congenital epithelial cysts which arise on the lateral part of neck from a failure of obliteration of second branchial cleft in embryonic development. It can be due to the first branchial cleft, it can be due to the second, third or fourth. Starting with the first branchial cleft fistula, there are two types, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 has ectodermal duplication anomaly of external auditory canal with squamous epithelium only, and it runs parallel to the external auditory canal. Usually it is pretragal and there can be connection with the tympanic membrane or malleus or incus, and the treatment is surgical excision. The type 2 first branchial cleft fistula includes the squamous epithelium and other ectodermal components. It presents in the opening in the anterior neck, square to the hyoid bone, and it courses over the mandible and through the parotid in variable position to the facial nerve, and it terminates near the external auditory canal at the bony and cartilaginous junction. And the treatment is excision of the tract along with the superficial peritodectomy because the tract passes through the parotid gland. This is the first branchial cleft sinus or fistula. You can see there is a pit or there is opening which is present just anterior to the pinna. Next is the second branchial cleft fistula. It is most common. 90% of the branchial cleft anomalies include the anomalies of the second branchial cleft. It presents as a painless fluctuant mass in anterior neck, and the opening or the mass is usually at the junction of the middle third and the lower third of the sternocleidomastoid, usually deep to the platysma, lateral to the 9th, 10th and 12th cranial nerve, and between the internal and external carotid, and it terminates in the tonsillar fossa. And the surgical treatment include the excision of the tract along with the tonsillectomy. This is the second branchial cleft cyst. You can see the opening at the level of the tonsillar fossa. This is an internal opening. Then the third branchial cleft. These are very rare, less than 2%, and usually present with a similar external presentation to the second branchial cleft fistulas. Internal opening is at the level of the piriform sinus. Then it courses above the superior laryngeal nerve through the thyroid membrane, usually medial to the glossopharyngeal nerve and lateral to the vagus and hypoglossal nerve, and posterior to the internal carotid artery. Surgical approach include excision, but we should visualize the recurrent laryngeal nerves and we should be able to save these nerves, usually done by the thyroidectomy incision. This is the third branchial cleft cyst. The opening is present in the piriform fossa, as you can see here in this picture. Fourth branchial cleft cyst courses from the piriform sinus apex caudal to the superior laryngeal nerve to emerge near the cricothyroid joint and descend superficial to the recurrent laryngeal nerve, and these are very rare. Next is laryngocele. Laryngoceles are uncommon congenital anomalies of the supraglottic larynx. They form as a result of air or fluid-filled dilatations of the laryngeal ventricle which communicate with the laryngeal lumen. They are typically classified as internal or external. These are congenital and these are arise congenitally from an enlarged laryngeal saccule, classified as internal, external, or combined. Internal laryngocele are confined to the larynx, usually involves the falls and the area epiglottic folds. Patients present to us with hoarseness and the respiratory distress, or it can present with a neck mass if it is also external. External or combined laryngoceles are patient present to us with soft compressible lateral neck mass that distends with increases in the intralaryngeal pressure, for example on coughing. If you compress it, it will lead to the hissing sound as air escapes through it. We call it Bryce sign. And it passes through the thyroid membrane at the entrance of the superior laryngeal nerve. CT scan is important to see the extension. As you can see here, there is a hypodense area surrounded by a hyperdense area on CT scan. 1 to 3% of the laryngocele will harbor an underlying laryngeal carcinoma risk, and treatment is excision via surgical approach. Next are lymphatic malformations, lymphangiomas. The term lymphatic malformation is a better definition of the lesion that was previously termed as lymphangioma. Lymphatic malformations are congenital malformations of lymph tissue that results from a failure of the lymph spaces to connect to the rest of the lymphatic system. Presents as a macrocytic lymphatic malformation, we call it cystic hygroma, and microcytic lymphatic malformations that are more extensive infiltration of the soft tissue structures of the head and neck, especially in the tongue, the floor of mouth, and that's why the excision of microcytic lymphatic malformations are difficult. Patient presents to us with soft, smooth, non-tender mass that is compressible and can be transilluminated. Typically, lymphatic malformations fluctuate in size as a result of infection or hemorrhage. They mostly impact the cosmetic appearance of child, and depending on the size and location of the mass, they may cause respiratory compromise and difficulty in feeding. You can see this is a large, compressible, soft, cystic mass, and it is brilliantly transilluminated, so it is a cystic hygroma. Radiographic evaluation with MRI or CT is important for diagnosis and determination of the extent of lesion, and radiography shows fluid-filled spaces with surrounding connective tissue. The goals of surgery are to improve cosmetic appearance and to counter impaired breathing or eating. Because of the infiltrative nature of these lesions, surgical excision is often difficult, so debulking is usually done. Sometimes sclerotherapy using alcohol is also effective. Next are the hemangiomas. These are proliferative endothelial lesions rather than the true neoplasms. Hemangiomas present at birth, grow rapidly during the first year of life, and begin to slowly involute at 18 to 24 months of age. Hemangiomas are seen as red or bluish soft masses that frequently have skin component, and typically these masses are compressible and increases with straining or crying. This is the hemangioma. CT or MRI with contrast often confirms the diagnosis of a vascular lesion, and usually the management is observation unless there is a functional impairment, bleeding, skin necrosis, or coagulopathy causing thrombocytopenia. Surgical excision or laser therapy may be helpful in cases of incomplete involution or when mild functional or cosmetic abnormalities remain. There are few midline neck masses that I want to discuss today, like the dermoid and the teratoid cyst. These are developmental anomalies composed of different germ cell layers, and they are classified according to the composition. The dermoid cysts include the derivatives from the mesoderm and ectoderm, usually in the midline paramedian position, and presents with the painless masses that usually do not elevate with tongue protrusion, commonly misdiagnosed as thyroglossal duct cysts. But these cysts do not elevate with tongue protrusion, while the thyroglossal duct cysts always move with protrusion of tongue. treatment is simple surgical excision. The teratoid cysts include derivatives from all three germ cell layers, endoderm, mesoderm and ectoderm, and they present with the larger midline masses, and 20% are associated with maternal polyhydramnios. And unlike adult teratomas, they rarely demonstrate malignant degeneration, and treatment is surgical excision. So a conclusion is, neck masses are very common. We should approach the patient with a good history of physical examination. Usually it will lead to us with correct diagnosis, and understanding of cervical embryology is very important in these masses. In the end, there is a flow chart. For example, a child comes to you with a neck mass. You go start with a good history and physical examination. If it turns out to be congenital and you are suspecting branchial cleft, cyst, cystic hygroma or dermoid or the teratoid cyst, then go for CT scan or MRI and consider surgical excision. If you are suspecting a thyroglossal cyst, then you should go for ultrasound thyroid, and then you should consider the surgical excision. And if a child comes to you with a neck mass and you are suspecting an acquired lesion, it can be infectious or inflammatory, or you can suspect a malignancy. If you are suspecting a malignancy, then you should go for tests like CBC, chest X-ray, MRI and CT, and you should also consider help regarding from the oncology department, and you should consider the surgical excision. If there is malignancy, it can be due to Hodgkin disease, lymphoma, rhabdomyosarcoma or neuroblastoma. If there is no malignancy, then consider other diagnosis. If lesions turns out to be infectious or inflammatory, it can be due to Kawasaki disease, sinus histiocytosis, drug induced, or it can be due to sarcoidosis. If you are suspecting a viral inflammation, then you should go for CBC, Epstein-Barr virus, cat scratch disease, toxoplasmosis, and you should also treat the patient with oral antibiotics. And if there is good response, then you should continue the treatment. If there is poor response, then you should consider the surgical excision. If it turns out to be bacterial, then also the same mode of treatment with antibiotics. And if you are suspecting a mycobacteria, then you should go for the PPD test and treat the patient with anti-tuberculous therapy. And if there is a good response, then you should continue the treatment. If there is poor response, then you should go for surgical excision. If you are suspecting a malignancy, then obviously you should go to the tests like CBC, chest X-ray, MRI or CT and consider surgical excision. Or then we already discussed it can be due to the Hodgkin disease, lymphomas, rhabdomyosarcomas or neuroblastomas, and if there is no malignancy, then consider other diagnosis. So this is all about the neck masses. Next time we will start with the oral cavity diseases. Thank you.